Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Maria Klyovko from MK Facilitations, and in today's Facebook Live, I want to talk about anger and grief. And if you notice that you're becoming an angry person that you just don't recognize, I know that that's happened to me in the past. I know that I've had many clients who have experienced this. And when they talk about it with such frustration because they just can't seem to get on top of their anger. It's interesting because there is a natural symptom of grief, which is anger, and it's protest anger. And we're protesting against, this is not how life is meant to be. We are not meant to live without this person. And doesn't God understand that? And why do we need to live this way? And we're so angry. For people who can express their anger and let their anger out, they usually can let it out and it's a done deal. For many of us, however, particularly women, we've been taught to hold our anger in. We've been taught that it's not ladylike to express our anger. And what can happen in that place is that anger really gets buried and carried inside of us, and it starts to seethe. I know my experience of it was that I would just be seething with it, and I'd be thinking about it, and I'd get angrier and angrier. And suddenly I would have these outbursts with people who just didn't deserve it, like at the checkout counter. I will never forget being in a Target in North Dakota, and the checkout boy, a lovely young boy who just really did not understand how to pack a bag, put my eggs at the very bottom of the bag. And then he proceeded to pack the bag, and I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and I could feel the anger. And I knew if I said something, it was not going to come out nicely. It was going to come out as me just blowing on this boy and just really letting him have it. And so I grabbed my bag and I gently put it in the cart, and I drove my cart to my car, and then I opened up the back seat of my car, and then I forgot which bag the eggs were in, and sure enough, my anger, I just unleashed it on the bag. The eggs all cracked. It was not a pretty thing. This story is just one of many stories that I have of myself and of my clients where the anger just gets unleashed in the most inappropriate, uncomfortable times and ways, and we just can't seem to get on top of it. Right? And it comes out as rage, because in part, when we're holding this anger in, of course it's going to come out as rage. And who are we angry at? Well, there's a whole myriad of people to be angry at. I was angry at myself. I was angry at myself for reacting this way. And anger was not going to help the situation. And I had all of these judgments going on in my head that just kept feeding my anger more and more and more. And then there was the anger that was against the person who died. How dare my father die and leave me? I was livid, and I was livid with him, and then I would feel guilty about feeling angry with him. We're going to talk about guilt another day this week. But for right now, let's focus on this anger piece, right? Because that livid energy that was directed at him was so huge. And when I couldn't be angry at him anymore, guess where it went next? I was angry at God. How could God let this happen? How could God leave me alone like this? Why would God take away this beloved person in my life? And that was perhaps the most painful anger of all that I needed to journey through. If you are finding yourself in this angry place, if you are finding yourself just seething with it and not knowing what to do with it, and you're feeling stuck in that, or you're feeling lost in that, please know there is a way to work through this. The grief journey does include anger for sure, but it doesn't mean you need to stay stuck in it. It doesn't mean you need to seethe in it. It doesn't mean you need to make that your new MO as the angry person. And there are people who carry this anger and become this angry person for months and years, and it just doesn't need to be this way. It's what happens when grief becomes buried and carried. If you are looking to find a way of joy in your grief journey, a way of ease and grace, so that you can feel joy during the grief journey, because the grief journey is ups and downs, right? We need to learn how to walk it in such a way that we own the journey. And we recognize that we have power in the journey. We're not powerless in this journey or in this process. This is a life process, and we need to know how to do it and how to do it with ease and grace. If you're ready to do this, if you're ready to talk about the hows of this, if you're ready to make a different choice about the grief journey that you're on, then I invite you to private message me or send me a note in the comment section of this. I would love to connect with you. I would love to talk with you about this other way of doing things. I would love to talk to you about what your journey is now and how you are experiencing grief right now. Just know you can experience grief with ease and grace. I'm seeing a message here, and I want to thank Marnie and Michelle for being here with me. I see that both of you are here, and I see this. I haven't felt anger because I know my husband did everything he could. His body was worn out, and no matter how hard we wanted to keep him here on earth, God knew what was best for him. However, that doesn't help my hurting, and of course, no, that wouldn't help your hurting. And that's so wisely spoken, Michelle, because here's the reality of the thing. When we're in our grief journey, the grief journey is our grief, our sadness, our fears, our pain, our anxiety around not having our beloved person in the physical form anymore. And it is a journey from that physical form into finding where that relationship is now. That is the grief journey, so that we can reconcile with the fact that they aren't in physical form anymore. So that is a journey that has, as I said, it's ups and downs. There is certainly a place for joy, and there's a place for all of the emotions that come up for you. I'm so very sorry for your loss. I know that that's really painful when you have a beloved spouse and the spouse is no longer there. That is just devastating. So I know that I'm with you. I'm thinking about you, and I would love to connect with you. So let's make that happen. In the meantime, to all of you, if you are carrying that anger, please know you don't need to do that anger dance any longer, that we can have conversation around what is the pathway through this anger and to the other side. Much love to you all. I wish you well. Peace, ease, and grace in your grief journey. Namaste.